Alex Jones' YouTube channel, InfoWars, appears to be in hot water at the moment. Advertisers bolt from InfoWars' YouTube channel say they had no idea ads were running there. Okay, so let me break this down a little bit for you. The way the ad system works on YouTube is a little weird. What happens is you have advertisers go to the ad team at Google and YouTube, and they tell them, I would like to buy ads in, and then you fill in the blank. It could be sports, it could be entertainment, it could be news and politics. If they buy in news and politics, Google and YouTube place those ads, and the advertisers don't know exactly where those ads are going. So, for example, people who watch my channel have been saying endlessly in the comments and tweeting at me and saying, the NRA did a massive ad buy and is running on the Secular Talks channel and David Pakman's channel, and it's weird. To which I say, that is fucking weird. But the way it works is the content creators like myself never talk to the advertisers, okay? I never talk to the advertisers. The advertisers talk to Google and YouTube's ad team, and they just place the ads on news and politics, and they almost like just throw them out there. Okay, so it's funny because the NRA is paying somebody who's their opponent and their enemy, and I talk all the time about doing a universal background check and banning high-capacity magazines and treating guns like, you know, like it's a car and having some sort of a test. And so, okay, fine, they're paying their enemy, wonderful. But that's why when people were told, hey man, your stuff is running on Alex Jones, they were like, whoa, what? What? No, I didn't know that. I don't like that. And then they contacted YouTube and they were like, can you please take my shit off of Alex Jones' channel? So, let me give you some more information here. InfoWars got a strike for conspiracy mongering over the Florida high school shooting. I believe he either did a video or pushed a video about that guy David Hogg, one of the kids, and their argument was, oh, he's a crisis actor because he was once on a local news report in California or something. The reality is, of course, he's not a crisis actor. He was on a local news report in California because he was visiting California, and he got on a local news report. So the idea of like, oh, that's it, we've disproven the fucking Florida mass shooting, nonsense. He did the same shit after Sandy Hook and said it's fake, and then of course their argument was it's because Obama's going to come take your guns, that's why they're doing this, and then Obama didn't come and take the guns, so your theory's just wrong. It's not true. If your theory was true, there'd have to be motive. The motive you said was to come and take the guns. They didn't take the guns. So you're just a fucking liar, is what you are. That's not true. It's not fake. It's real. Sandy Hook actually fucking happened. The Florida school shooting actually happened. So he got a strike over that. Now, do I agree with giving him a strike over that? I don't. They say, oh, it's because of bullying and harassment. That's not bullying and harassment. That's a wrong conspiracy theory. You're allowed to do wrong conspiracy theories. You are. If you start pulling down shit or giving a strike for shit, theories that are wrong, 72% of YouTube would get a strike right now, like that, because there's so much misinformation out there. You can't micromanage and police misinformation with strikes. That would be such an insane crackdown on free speech and free expression that it's out of this world mental. You just can't do it. You can't do it. So I don't agree with them giving a strike over that, but that doesn't mean the theory's correct. The theory's wrong. I'm sure the kid did get harassed over it, but go after the individual harassers. You don't go after the video itself and pull down the video or give a strike over the video. But that's what they did. They pulled down the video. They gave him a strike over that. So I don't agree with the strike over that. Let me give you more information. It was Nike, Acer, Alibaba, One Family, and Moen. I don't even know who some of those are. That asked YouTube to pull their ads from Alex Jones' channel. Like I said, they didn't even know their ads were running there. And then InfoWars DC bureau chief, a guy named Jerome Corsi, had his channel terminated, but I think it was terminated briefly and then now it's back. He has about 30,000 subscribers, and he got 2 strikes towards the end of last month. So again, a guy like Jerome Corsi, he was one of the biggest voices arguing that that Barack Obama's gay. That was one of his big things. It's like, oh, I proved it, Obama's gay. Okay, no, he's not. That's a silly thing to even care about, but it's not true. This guy had theories about how, Obama wanted to nuke like North Carolina or some shit. He's crazy. He's a crazy person. He's a ridiculous person. But having said that, no, you don't delete his channel. I don't know what the specific strikes are for in his case, so maybe I'm wrong here, but my guess is it's just random conspiracy mongering and stupidity. And no, you don't delete You can't delete a channel over that. You shouldn't give strikes over that. So I don't agree with deleting his channel either. Now, Alex Jones is arguing, hey man, my channel is being pulled down completely. So that's what Jones says. And he said it would already have happened on Sunday. It didn't happen. YouTube is arguing, no, we're not going to pull your channel down. So it's Jones' word versus YouTube. I don't know about you guys. Though I have many disagreements with YouTube, I tend to think they're a little more trustworthy than Alex Jones. Call me crazy. So if they were to pull down his channel, I would be the first one out here saying, this is fucked up, this is bullshit, they should not pull down his channel, it's crazy to pull down his channel. Just because he's a conspiracy theorist and he's wrong about most of the shit he talks about doesn't mean he shouldn't be given a platform, because then you're going to get into micromanaging and policing. Okay, you pull down Alex Jones, then what? You could certainly point to some videos I've done where I got things wrong. Should you pull down my videos over things that are wrong? Or, as the establishment would do, would they just come after people because they're saying the wrong things? So in Jones' case, he's saying the wrong things, and he also happens to be wrong most of the time, but you still shouldn't pull him down. In my case, I think I'm right most of the time, but listen, if you cover the DNC email leaks, the WikiLeaks stuff, they could say, oh, maybe you're a Russian agent, and we're going to pull you down. You know, this is the kind of bullshit argument you'd expect. If you talk about how the U.S. is backing jihadists in Syria, which we are, that sounds conspiratorial, but it also happens to be true. But they might say, oh, that's conspiracy, pull him down. So listen, you have to draw a clean line and say, no, the only things that shouldn't be allowed, direct threats of violence, not allowed, doxing, not allowed. There's very few rules when it comes to this stuff, and it should be like that. So if they were to pull him down, I'd be the first to defend him. I don't think they're going to pull him down. But what they are going to do, and what they did, they already gave him a strike. I don't agree with that strike. But now what's interesting is I don't know if they're totally demonetizing everything on his channel and putting him on a blacklist. And that one's a little more of a gray area. So I personally don't think they should totally demonetize him. Because again, once you get into doing that and micromanaging the monetization and demonetization of individual channels, well, then you open up the door where what's going to happen is only the established channels, only CNN and MSNBC and Fox News and, CNBC and Fox Business, those are the only channels that are going to get monetization. Once you micromanage and say, oh, okay, let's choose to totally demonetize certain channels. And listen, I know what that feels like because I was temporarily on some sort of a blacklist where I got no monetization at all. That was during the height of adpocalypse. Now, we've since bounced back a little bit, but we're still in a permanent status of being deranked. So like RT, for example, their stuff is kind of hidden. And the argument is, oh, they're pushing Russian fake news. So what happens is, unless you're already a viewer of RT, they're not going to come up in the recommended video section. The stuff is not going to trend, even if it's really popular. Secular Talk is in the same kind of a situation. And we're also in a lower level of monetization where we don't get the top tier ad. So there's been a 50 to 60% cut in our revenue on YouTube. Now, in the case of Alex Jones, there's some articles that say he's going to get no monetization at all. And there are other articles that say, no, he's still going to be monetized, but only specific advertisers are fleeing. So if this, on the case of the specific advertisers fleeing, listen, it's a free country. If they don't want to advertise on Alex Jones' channel, I get it. They don't have to advertise there. So they can pull out, no problem at all. It's their right. If they don't want to advertise on him, of course, they don't have to advertise on his show, okay? But if I was YouTube, no, you don't do a blanket demonetization of Alex Jones and make it so he gets zero monetization, because again, once you open that door where you micromanage the monetization and you can totally shut down monetization for channels, what happens when somebody comes along and they do want to advertise on Alex Jones' channel? Some stupid-ass company with, doomsday preppers or some shit. I mean, those are all the people that advertise on Glenn Beck's shitty TV channel, The Blaze, which is probably going to go out of business soon, by the way. They're going to want to advertise with Alex Jones. There's right-wing, the NRA is probably going to want to advertise with Alex Jones. So there are specific people who would want to advertise on Alex Jones, and if YouTube says, no, we're not going to let you do that, well, then that's wrong. And even though I disagree with Alex Jones, and I think he's wrong about the overwhelming majority of shit he talks about, once you open up this door, well, then inevitably they're going to come for Kyle Kulinski and Jimmy Dore and the Humanist Report and the Rational National and Tim Black and TYT. Listen, even if you despise Alex Jones, and I do, you got to take a stand here and say, no, you don't do blanket demonetization of him. So I'm against the strikes on his channel because he's a conspiracy monger, but that's not, you don't pull down videos for being conspiracies, because then we can't speculate about anything except agree with the official narrative of everything. That's a terrible precedent to set. I don't agree with, the strikes on his channel. I don't agree with, if they were to pull it down, which they're not going to pull down his entire channel, I wouldn't agree with that. The only thing I get is the individual advertisers. If they want to pull out, fine. They have a right to do that if they want. But don't do a total demonetization of his channel. And that might be the case. Again, I've seen different articles that say different things. Some say it's going to be a total blanket demonetization of his channel. I think that's fucked up and wrong, even though I despise Alex Jones. And others say, no, it's not blanket demonetization, but it's only certain advertisers are pulling out. So anyway, that's my breakdown of this. And unfortunately, it's not going to stop. This is now life on YouTube, and there are other channels. Sargon of Akkad, for example, is another channel. He temporarily had his channel frozen and he couldn't get in. He was in the middle of a live stream. I don't know why or how that happened. But again, that's not okay. It doesn't matter how much you agree or disagree with somebody. You have to say, let them talk. Don't give them bullshit strikes. Don't do blanket demonetization, because that's not fair. And then who's going to watch the Watchmen? So you might say, okay, I agree with doing this to Alex Jones or Sargon of Akkad or whoever. But then I guarantee you won't agree with it when they come for me and they try to shut down my channel, or they do stupid strikes on my channel, or they blanket demonetize my channel again. So you got to draw a clean line in the sand and say free speech and free expression is what it is, and it needs to be abided by. It's good that we're free speech absolutists. And I get it. So the argument is, well, YouTube is YouTube. They don't have to abide by principles of free speech and free expression. That's true. They have every right to not abide by it. But that doesn't mean they should. It doesn't mean that they should ignore the principle of free speech and free expression. So even though they have a right to demonetize whoever they want, or do strikes or pull people or whatever, I just don't think they should do that. And then eventually you're going to have other free expression platforms pop up that stick more true to that principle, and they'll win in the long run. And so even though I despise Alex Jones, I'm doing a pseudo defense of him because I don't agree with oh shit, he says really terrible things, therefore we got to demonetize him or give him strikes or get rid of him or any of that stuff. So I hope I gave you a sufficient nuanced breakdown here, and we'll see what happens moving forward.